Yahya Sinwar, leader of Hamas in Gaza since about 2017, is dead. There were some pictures circulating on Twitter of a very mushed up looking man with a big dent in his skull, bit of a graphic thing going on with his leg as well. He dead, okay? It's confirmed. It's confirmed by Hamas. It's confirmed by Israel. He dead. It doesn't even seem like the IDF were trying to get him in the operation. They think there was a gunfight in Rafah, I think. 3 people died because of tank fire and mortar fire onto this building that they were in. And one of the people was Sinwar. They just kind of like stumbled into him, I guess. Another thing that we've learned just today is that those 6 hostages who were shot, killed, and then left in a tunnel, the tunnel that was underneath the child's bedroom with the Disney pictures, that was confirmed by an international journalist. He, apparently they were with him. He was using them as protection, but there was a certain point in the operation when I guess they either, maybe some people got injured or they just couldn't bear them as a burden or they had to leave too quickly. So something happened, or they were just reacting to, I think, other events, maybe with Lebanon. But yeah, they shot them. They just shot 6 of them and ran away. So, but yeah, that's him. They've got Sinwar. He is dead. The Hamas leader of Gaza of the last 7 years is kaput. What does it mean? Well, let's first of all just get some understanding for who Mr. Sinwar is. Like many Hamas leaders, he was born to a refugee family. He grew up in Khan Yunis. His original family came from Ashkelon, actually, South Israel. They fled or were expelled from Ashkelon in the 48 war. He grew up in the Khan Yunis refugee camp. He studied, I think he just did Arabic studies. He was already a bit of a naughty boy when he was younger. He abducted Israeli soldiers in the 80s. He killed suspected collaborators in the 80s as well. He was imprisoned by the Israelis for 22 years. He got released in exchange for Gilad Shalit. He was released. He was one of the 1,026 people who was released in exchange for Gilad Shalit, the Israeli soldier who was kidnapped in just outside Gaza. What's interesting about Sinwar is that when he was in Israeli prison, I think he actually learned Hebrew. He was also a patient when he was in Israeli prison. He had a brain tumor, and it was removed by Israeli doctors. Yeah, so they saved his life. But he was released in exchange for Gilad Shalit and sent back into Gaza. And in 2017, he was elected the leader of Hamas in Gaza. Previously, the leader was Ismail Haniyeh. So his rule in Gaza is basically described as very autocratic. They see him as basically ruling with an iron fist. He replaced Haniyeh, who eventually went on to live in hotels in Qatar and in Turkey. So when he had control over Gaza, he ruled with an iron fist. He was notorious for murdering people who were suspected of being collaborators, to the point that he actually got branded as the butcher of Khan Yunis. Very aggressive leader in Gaza. And a lot of Hamas's activity in Gaza was in large part dictated by him. One example is the Great March of Return. There was a period in the sort of like late 2010s where he would basically boast this idea of like peaceful popular resistance. Now, as we know, if you've ever seen my research on the Great March of Return or even just watched some videos, is these marches were in large part peaceful. They were organized by civil organizations and civil leadership. And even like when Hamas and PIJ and all those people got involved, it was their civilian wings that were involved. The Al-Qassam and Al-Quds brigades were not officially involved in the organization. They would do sort of similar MLK kind of stuff where they would disarm people. They would search people for weapons at the events. And they would also link arms and do their little marches for the cameras. But what was also happening underneath the surface was that on one side of the road, you had tents, you had families, you had kind of festive activities, talks, poems, music, everything. But on the other side of the road, where the buffer zone is to the fence, you had very, very much smaller groups of people attacking the IDF, trying to attack the border fence. And their intentions there were quite clear. So this is Sinwar on April 6, 2018, 1 week after the first march. He's saying, we have come out today and we will come out also in the next few days. Our people and our boys will surprise. The entire world with what they have in store. Let them wait for our big push. We will take down the border and we will tear out the hearts from their bodies. So he was very tactical, Sinwar. Sinwar was very good at tactics. He openly said that the goal of the Great March of Return was to restore the right of return to Arab and international consciousness. And he also said that it was to place the Palestinian cause and in the international agenda, right? He also actually more or less admitted, as Hamas did as well, that this is 2 days after the bloodiest day of the Great March of Return, when like 60 people died. Hamas would eventually claim 50 of them. He even kind of admits here that rather than using missiles and rockets, Hamas soldiers took off their military uniforms and put their weapons aside, and says, turn this into a wonderful civilized method. What we also know, and even the UN report says this, is that Hamas were literally coordinating people into different units of like, you had like tire burning units, and you had fence cutting units, and you had Molotov cocktail units and incendiary balloon units. Yeah, so they were they really were soldiers. Some of them were, yeah, like the key directors of the marches were. Obviously, civilians joined in and civilians engaged in that action as well. But yeah, it was like Hamas and Sinwar were very much involved in the direction of the attacks on the fence. I don't know how much they were involved in all the nonviolent stuff that was happening on the other side of the road, but the efforts to, fight with the IDF, yeah, Hamas were disproportionately represented in those attacks, yes. And we also know, and you can see this from the Great March of Return as well, that Sinwar has this tendency to encourage very young people to fight. There's a bit of a misconception about the Al-Qassam brigades. They don't use, quote unquote, like child soldiers. The Al-Qassam brigade does not conscript people who are under 18 usually. Sometimes they will. It's quite rare though. Islamic Jihad, I think, do it a bit more often, but it's still, most of their fighters are adults. They're over 18. Actually, most of them are over 20. But that doesn't stop them from encouraging civilian youth, under 18s, sometimes even under preteen, to fight with Israel. There's one pretty popular video of him that goes around of him engaging in some pretty weird shit with a child soldier, or at least promoting the image of child soldiers. ساقيناها بالشظايا وبطعم الموت شوفوا المركبة حركناها بالجنود صارت مقابرنا الأوغاد وما ظنت واتبترت عضوات الرعب بالحشود ما خلت كافر وقولان وما ظنت أنا الحوت وأنا الأهوان على ظهر البحر خيال أنا الموجة musical people. Anyway, sorry. They will. So this was a large kind of strategy that he would push. You say Hamas recruits boys down to 13 to 14. The youngest I've ever seen on the Al-Qassam website was 15 when they joined, but it's very few and far between. However, encouraging young people to fight with the IDF, just out, like to engage in hostilities, but not being within the army. Oh, they'll do that all the time. When he speaks about tunnels, when he's speaking about how many hundreds of kilometers of tunnels they've built in 2019, he'll talk about having, if the Israelis attack, then people will emerge from the belly of the earth. The earth will spew forth our men and our youth. He'll always mention the youth. When he was talking about his aspirations for attacks on Israel, there's a few things mentioned in this compilation where he is quite clearly alluding to October 7th, because I think we know now from captured documents that Hamas were trying to get were trying to solicit support from the Iranians and from Hezbollah to help them with October 7th to join in the effort. Iran and Hezbollah effectively said no, not flat out, but they said no. They said that it wouldn't be like a coordinated attack. So Hamas eventually realized that they were going to have to go by themselves. And Sinwar, through these documents, it shows that they were, even from 2019 and earlier, they were preparing their tunnel networks. They were doing things that they hadn't done previously, like installing blast doors and stuff like that. So they were, this is a different article. They were anticipating it for quite a while. And they were also hoping that the initial attack would inspire as many people as possible from the West Bank and Israel and other countries to join in. So when this is interesting because he's addressing Al Jazeera journalists when he was saying this in 2021. He's addressing Al Jazeera journalists and praising them as fedayeen, which means self-sacrificer. He's praising them in the propaganda war and everything. And he's telling them that at some point, he's saying that the people will attack settlements all at once. This will be the West Bank. He's talking about how people will be waiting at junctions and bypass roads and that they'll attack people in the settlements and all over the West Bank. And even the people in the 48 lands, so Israel proper, will rise up. There will be 1 million people demonstrating and protesting, or there will be 10,000 martyrdom seekers if the Al-Aqsa Mosque is harmed. We'll come back to that in a second. He's talking about how people in Israel, like Palestinians in Israel, will pick up knives and stab Israelis or like run them over with cars or throw Molotov cocktails at them. So they were anticipating a region-wide uprising against the Israelis. And this rhetoric of Sinwar is shifting largely from what he considered a less violent approach, like the March of Return, like a less armed approach, to this, not because they were disillusioned by the failure of peaceful protest, okay? That's the Western narrative. It's stupid, okay? No. But the West is not entirely blameless for why this shift happened. In large part, this shift happened because, one, I guess because the March of Return had kind of exhausted its ability to gain things for them, and because people lost interest. People didn't really want to go along with just running towards the fence and getting shot, right? That wasn't really that appealing to a lot of people because they're not really causing any damage on the other side. And a lot of people got injured and killed. But one bit of Western policy that actually you can tell is being referenced again and again when Sinwar is talking about attacking is the aggression, he calls it, on the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Al-Aqsa Mosque in the old city of Jerusalem. And this is in large part, and he references this quite a lot, is because after Trump moved the American embassy to Jerusalem, signaling to Israel that he supported a unified Jerusalem, that the east of Jerusalem would not ever have to go to the Palestinians in a peace deal. And later on, actually, Trump's peace plan confirmed that because he said that in the peace plan, the Palestinians would get East Jerusalem, but they kind of lied about what East Jerusalem was. Their vision for East Jerusalem under Trump, for the Palestinians in Trump's peace plan, was that they would take one neighborhood from the very far east of Jerusalem called Abu Dis and just rename it to Al-Quds. So they wouldn't get the Temple Mount, they wouldn't get Al-Aqsa Compound, none of that shit, right? They just literally said, take this little neighborhood and just rename it. Right? That was the plan. It was such an insult, like Dis. It was called Abu Dis. It was a Dis. Yeah, get it? Okay. And what people, I think a lot of people don't really understand is that as far as key issues for Palestinians, it's not like material conditions, like not really. At least that's not how they see it. That's not the kind of thing that they talk about that much. It's not necessary. It's not like the blockade is definitely part of it. The occupation is part of it. The settlements make them angry, all these kind of things. But the real things that they talk about are national narratives. And the two big national narratives are, one is the right of return. That's a big thing for them. But the other really big thing for them, and this was the big sticking point in all the peace negotiations with Arafat, and this is what Sinwar speaks about a lot as well, is the Al-Aqsa Mosque. It's Al-Quds. It's the liberation of that entire area where the Temple Mount is, the old city, for the Islamic world. So when Trump moved the embassy to East Jerusalem, this resulted to West Jerusalem. But when he moved the embassy to Jerusalem, this emboldened a lot of far-right nutcases in Israel, particularly Itamar Ben-Gvir, to go to the Al-Aqsa compound and start attacking the mosque. So Ben-Gvir would take a bunch of dipshits up to the mosque and they would harass Muslims and attack the mosque, right? And they would be fighting in the mosque. It's like they see it as desecration. So when you see Sinwar saying things like, there's even one of these speeches later where he says that we don't really want a religious war, but if you're going to bring it, we're going to hit you back, right? Like, yeah. So he, like, I think in 2022 he was saying, whoever makes the decision to repeat this desecration of the Al-Aqsa Mosque will be making a decision to desecrate thousands of synagogues and Jewish temples all over the world. Plot twist, as some people in chat have mentioned it, the mosque itself, I don't think was actually attacked, but settlers did go there. They were really fucking incensed about attacks on the mosque or attacks on the area, and they were also really incensed about Trump moving the embassy because they saw that as a green light from the United States to hand over this whole area to Israel indefinitely, like forever. So they see that as like the big act of aggression. They get really fucking mad. And then this is where a lot of the kind of incitement from October 7th comes from. That's why they called it Operation Al-Aqsa Flood. That's why there was one point when Iran actually tried to say that October 7th was a revenge attack for Soleimani. And Hamas had to say, no, it's not. It's because of Al-Aqsa. Like that's where you can see, like, there was even a rift between Hamas and Iran on the narrative of why it happened. So it kind of shows you as well that people like Sinwar, he's not quite the same as Nasrallah or the Houthis. Hamas, like I've said, are not exactly the same in terms of their relation to the Ayatollah. They're Sunni, first of all. They're not Shia. But they're not really part of the axis of resistance in the sense that they don't swear allegiance to the Ayatollah. They don't follow the exact same religious doctrine, or they don't get like the exact directions. They get support. Hamas is a contractor for Iran. They're not like a member of the same family as like Nasrallah or the Houthis or anything else. So you can see where the narratives differ a little bit. But what is true is that, and again, Sinwar talks about this a lot, is that before October 7th, a lot of the weapons that Hamas used on that day and have been using in the war were coming from Iran. Like, they do have that support. The problem with Sinwar during the war is that there is quite a bit of evidence to suggest that he went, whilst he was ruling and crushing his opposition and murdering suspected or actual collaborators or whatever else, he apparently kind of lost his marbles. There's this really interesting Haaretz article that is suggesting that Sinwar had actually deluded himself into believing that they would be able to actually hold on to Israeli territory for a substantial period of time, and to split the country into and to create cantons in the area. So at some point, it's very possible that he just completely crashed out. I don't know if that's definitely true, but we do know that during this war, whilst Western negotiators like Blinken and Biden have rightly called out the intransigence at times of Netanyahu, the other person who has been completely intransigent for these negotiations was Sinwar. The problem was that even when Haniya was still alive, negotiating from Qatar and from Iran, is that anything that outside negotiators and leaders agreed upon, they could only action through Sinwar, because Sinwar was the guy who could actually make the decision on the ground in Gaza. He was the last point. So if Sinwar said no, it wouldn't happen. And it seems that the only terms of ceasefire that Sinwar would ever accept throughout basically the last year was one where Israel leaves, they can take the hostages or their bodies. They wouldn't say which ones were dead and how many were alive, but they would leave, and then Hamas would be left back in charge, and that they would be the ones who would receive all the concrete and the equipment and the aid and everything to rebuild the strip, whilst never actually, walking back any of those times when they said that they would want to fucking redo October 7th a million times or anything else. So Sinwar's terms were basically get out of Gaza, leave us alone for like 10 years whilst we, hopefully don't build up and just try the exact same thing again without any assurances or promises. So that's more or less Sinwar's position. And that's why, because that's a red line Israel will never agree to. The ceasefire procedure, the ceasefire process has basically just been a PR war. That's how I describe it. It's a PR war where people will say, oh, I accept this ceasefire, balls in your court. And then Hamas will be like, yeah, we accept it, but they'll change all the terms. And then they'll be like, balls in your court. And then Israel will be like, oh, yeah, we're really happy with the ceasefire terms. We're really happy with this new ceasefire deal. Balls in your court. And Hamas will be like, yeah, okay, but we'll change it. Balls in your court. So that's basically how it's been going for the last year. That's my summary of the ceasefire terms. So there is a suggestion that with Mr. Sinwar gone, someone else is going to be in charge of negotiations, potentially, or what happens to the hostages or anything else. But I don't know if that's necessarily for better or worse, because Sinwar was a very brutal leader. And I think that suggests that there's going to be a bit, I don't know how much of a contingency plan there was for his death, what was set in place for him, for the organization afterwards. For example, I don't know if Hamas have been so decapitated now that there is no unifying leader who can replace Sinwar. And the people who have the hostages, whether it's Hamas militants or affiliates or just random civilians, will just do whatever they want. There's no one to direct them what to do with the hostages. That's a potential thing. It's also a possible thing that Hamas becomes so demoralized that the only person next in line who can have any kind of control over the area will just say, okay, yeah, we surrender. That's probably a bit pie in the sky. Or there's just going to be a power scramble, or Hamas will just do what they always do, which they're very good at, is splitting up into fragmented circles without any central control. So I don't really, I think the world's a better place without him, you know? Sorry that happened to you, buddy, but you fucked around, you found out, rip, you sacrificed 40,000 of your own people and gambled with the lives of basically 2 million plus people in the Gaza Strip for a fantasy, basically, for like a martyrdom fantasy. Fuck you. But whether it helps the situation forward towards peace or prosperity for Gaza or anything else, but I think it's up in the air. I don't think there's anything set in stone about what happens next, whether it's for good or for bad. There's easily a scenario where his death makes things worse or less stable, at least, or there's a scenario where it makes things better. But that's my TLDR. Was Sinwar a musical person? You know what? I don't know. This one was wild. When he was talking about this was his aspiration for what happened in Israel after October 7th. It sounds like it anyway. It sounds like he's basically saying if the desecration of Al-Aqsa Mosque continues, whatever, this is kind of what he is aspiring to.
هذه الرشقة اسمها رشقة الشهيد أبو عمار. يا لنا في الداخل المحتل في النقب في المثلث. So he's referencing the Palestinians in Israel are people under occupation in the Negev, Triangle, Galilee, Haifa, في الجليل في حيفا
because they consider the occupation all of Palestine. That's what it is.
ويافا وعكا واللد. ليجهز كل واحد عنده بندقيته. ومن ليس عنده بندقية فليجهز ساطوره أو يجهز بلطه أو سكينه. إذا أرادوها حربا دينية فقد كسروا الخطوط الحمراء ويجب أن نكون على أهبة الاستعداد. صورة المنطقة في الأقمار الصناعية يجب أن تكون نار مشتعلة إذا أرادوها حربا دينية مقدسة، وإذا لم يوقفوا استفزازاتهم لمشاعرنا تجاه مسجدنا الأقصى المبارك فإنني أريد أن أخاطب.
Anyway, must have been a bit disappointing when that basically didn't happen, and the Palestinian-Israeli response to October 7th was actually quite a bit of a nothing burger. Ah, well. Sorry that happened to you, Mr. Sinwar. Yeah, okay. What does our resident... Hello.
Hello. You said the Palestinian-Israeli response was a nothing burger. It's actually not
based
burger.
on it's not a nothing burger, it's a nothing burger in the sense that it wasn't armed uprising like the Second Intifada, right? It was a
Okay, you misunderstood me. I'm saying it's not a nothing burger, as in there was more people sympathizing with Israel than before.
yeah. Okay, that's not. Yeah, I don't think that's a nothing
It's
burger.
not.
Yeah.
It's not a nothing burger.
That's not,
in
saying,
that
no, that's not
regard.
what I fucking mean. Obviously, it was a big surprise to fucking everyone that the Palestinians in Israel were like, fuck that. Yeah, that was actually like really nice. That was cool.
Yeah, and from what personal experience, no statistics on this, that the more educated the people were, like people who went to like in academia, the more likely they were like disgusted by this. There's definitely people who like supported it within Palestinian Israelis, but usually the least educated ones that did. About this though, I wanted to some doomer speculation about what was it called? About Sinwar, about how deranged and evil he possibly was or is. Did they confirm his death, or
Yeah, I think it's confirmed.
didn't they say they're going to do a DNA sample or some shit to confirm?
I think Hamas confirmed, didn't they? Didn't one of the Arab news stations get a report?
I
from
don't know.
Hamas?
I had a long day today,
Bro,
so I
look
just
at the
got
fucking
home now.
pictures. It's him. Okay, he is dead. He's dead as fuck. There's no
Listen,
other.
we all look alike. Okay, he could have gotten a body double. There's all right.
I think they already
Anyway.
did like a. Well, can you DNA test that quickly? I guess you can. Yeah, looks like the dental tests matched. Visuals, DNA results not yet released. Okay, yeah. I think it's him. I think it's
so.
him.
I hope so. I 100% hope it's him, regardless of that shenanigans. Do you think he was sadistic enough and evil enough to say if he like a contingency plan if he dies to kill all the hostages?
He might.
Or like the hostages
I don't
they
have no fucking. I have no idea. Maybe.
Because like as soon as I heard he's dead, I immediately thought this motherfucker could have possibly instructed Hamas like soldiers to just execute hostages if he dies.
Yeah, that was the first thought that came to my head as well. Is like this might be actually really scary for the hostages right now.
Yeah, because all I could think of is like this guy wants to like destroy Israel, doesn't really give a fuck about Palestinians. I'm pretty sure he's willing, if he dies, he's willing to give one last fuck you to
Yeah,
Israel.
but the problem is that whoever's after him, whoever actually can have discretion after him, might have some more self-preservation than he seemed to, or some more clarity than he did, and be like, okay, well, I'm probably going to get something out of these guys. Yeah.
Okay, so now think about it this way: if he had that plan in mind, where you kill all the hostages if he dies, do you think he would have had a proper structure left behind after him for someone to take command after him?
I don't know.
Because if someone after him takes command and like obviously prevents the hostages from getting hurt,
yeah,
that could be used as a proper bargaining chip from the new leader.
Bro, I think it's all to me. It's all.
That's what I said.
History,
it's doomer speculation. Yeah, that's what I said. It's doomer speculation. Bro, this cat's about to give birth. What the fuck? Move. Okay. Anyway. I hope he's gone. I hope.
You're not a fan.
I just want the war to end. Fuck this dude. I want both him and Netanyahu gone.
Oh.
Yeah, because they're both like obstacles.
When you say gone to Netanyahu, to your prime minister, to your fellow citizen, you mean like kicked out of office and jailed for corruption, right?
Yeah,
obviously. Yeah. Okay. I'm just keeping Ben Gavir's penis off of your ass, okay?
Sorry, I had someone come into my room. What's it called? I was talking about as in I don't want him in power anymore.
Yeah, don't worry. It's okay.
Yeah, no.
We got you.
Yeah. Thanks for the PR. I'm not PR trained like you are.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my doomer speculation. Hope it doesn't come to fruition.
Yeah. Fuck, man. All right.
Bye.
Take care, man. Bye.
Bye, Sinwar.
Okay. Hello, Murmur.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. I want to ask you a question. Do you think like if you were in Israel's position, would you still do the hostage deal?
Which one?
The one, and like the Hamas deal or something, because I know a lot of Israelis. I mean, I'm a very leftist person, but there are a lot of Israelis who do want the deal too.
Well, the Hamas deal, if the Hamas deal is still, they give back the hostages. They don't even say how many are dead or alive. And
True.
Israel just leaves and they allow, was it 600 aid trucks a day of concrete and everything else that they need to rebuild the place. Would I accept that? I don't know. That's like, you're just asking for another attempt. They'll just try the same shit. Unless there's any guarantee they can give that they wouldn't do that. Yeah, it's fucking mental.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Because on one hand, I really want the deal because I do want the hostages back and this bloody war to end. And yet at the same time, we can't really say like, oh, we can guarantee that hostage can guarantee like. I mean, even getting some of the hostages life is good, but if they try another October 7, it will be a huge problem.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a really. I'm for a deal anyways. I think Israel has like the obligation to return its citizen and like prepare for the next attack, because even if you give Hamas that opportunity, I think the most important thing is to defend your civilians, and you as an army, we need to prepare for that. Something which they didn't.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I just really hope that the only thing I can see working that I've heard proposed is that the IDF takes what areas they can control and allow some kind of like civil life to, and just try to create these like Hamas free bubbles and try to set up like some kind of alternative governance that can show as an example and that can actually show that it's possible to have a Gaza without Israeli or Hamas administration. Like, I don't know who they'd bring in, whether it's but I feel like it's like, in the Lebanese war, right? It was like you had Italian fucking troops, you had French, you had Americans, you had all these wankers here trying to preserve some kind of order. I feel like you need this for Gaza as well. Like it takes a world to rebuild this place. So that's what we did after anytime a place gets blown to hell, World War II or something, that's what you do. It takes a lot of coordination to make these things work.
Exactly. And I think it will be, and I do think like Israel should not control the area. I think it should be like the PLO or something, because I don't trust the government to do this shit. Because we saw what's happening in the West Bank. We don't need another.
Well, I think Israel will probably want to have some kind of security presence. They'll probably want to, at least those corridors or whatever the fuck they talk about. They love corridors. So I don't know, but as little of their presence as possible, ideally, because
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so thank you.
All right, take care, buddy. There's another little fucking toddler combat uniform memes. Nice one. At least this kid is marginally more into it by the looks of things. You gotta give him that one. Wild. BB is going to speak tonight and apparently has new ideas and is going to talk about the hostages. Wow, BB with a new idea. That's fucking crazy.
Sir,
what?
That child had drip and you know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Green looks good on him. And the flag.
Wow. I mean,
The hat I don't
That
like
hat is
really.
fucking retarded. What the fuck is that?
It's a military. No, look at the child's hat. That's a military
Oh,
hat.
the child's hat's okay.
Wait, what the fuck is the Sinwar hat? What is that? Does it even say anything? Is it just green?
I'm a man of peace, okay? I like his shoes. The shoes are
Hey,
quite
he's doing the
fancy.
peace sign.
Is that what it means? Is that what it means in Palestine? Is that what that means? It means peace.
Yeah, peace.
Yeah.
2 pieces, 2 steaks.
What is this takia you're doing to me right now?
Okay, I'm not Shia, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, good one. It means victory, doesn't it?
Is it? I'm pretty sure it's a peace sign. Do people use this for victory?
I thought. Okay, I don't. Okay. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, no,
It's peace.
I
guess, yeah, because everyone wants peace, really, but after a shitload of war, you know, whatever. It's for vendetta. Okay, whatever. I don't care.
I do now. Okay, they're the same sign apparently. Both of those signs are the same. Peace and victory.
Could be 50-50 then, eh? Who knows?
Maybe
what they want.
Peace is a victory.
Okay. All right.
He was for peace all along, man. All right.
Obviously. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yahya Sin peace. True. Bruh. I guess we can wait for... This is not true. This is fake. This is fake, right? This is fake. It's fucking fake. 22 upvotes. Fuck off. It's so, like, stop being so fucking embarrassing. Jesus Christ. Fake, cringe bullshit. So silly. At least it's tagged with meme. Yeah, but it's still cringe. I don't care. It's not a good meme. Usually there's like some truth in the joke. BBC, I'm going to do that. Israel's foreign minister confirmed it too. Yeah, how many confirmations do you need? Bro, look at the picture. He dead. He ain't coming back. He dead as fuck. Oh my God, this just in. The Israeli Minister of Youth Culture in Judea, Samaria has confirmed. I don't care. Your opinions are not important. Seems very clear that Sinwar has been killed. Okay, so you can now agree to the pre-existing prisoner swap with Hamas, withdraw your troops, stop the bombing, end the genocidal siege of Gaza. That's it, right? Isn't it? No, he's so dense. He's so dense. He's mental. He's fucking insane. He's lost his marbles. Okay. Do you think it marks the beginning of the end of the war? I don't know. It's maybe the beginning of a new beginning that is still a long way from the end.